The trees rustled as a cool breeze swept across the lunch tables at Stone Lake Middle School. Dark, sinister clouds hung in the sky as the impending storm drew closer. 4 girls sat around a table, bundled in thick coats. Jenna's dark brown, messy hair blew in the wind, getting in her face. But she didn't care. Her head was down, her sunglasses blocking her sightless eyes. She listened carefully as Corinne, Claire, and Sabrina all stood from the table and walked away. Jenna slowly followed them. The sound of their footsteps stopped at a trash can, where they threw away their lunches. One at a time, the sound of their footsteps began again, getting softer as they walked away. They were heading towards the north end of the campus. Jenna listened again, contemplating whether she should follow them or not. Suddenly, one of them stopped. As her friends continued, Sabrina turned. She smiled at Jenna and motioned for her to follow them, forgetting that she couldn't see her gesture.
"Come on,"
Sabrina said. Then she ran to catch up with Corinne and Claire. Jenna followed, unsure where exactly they were going. She caught up with her friends, but they didn't seem to notice her. They were talking about some book that their English teacher, Mr. Stevens, had recommended. They could have been going to his classroom, but no. Mr. Stevens' classroom was near the cafeteria, which they were walking away from. They had PE next, but Jenna knew that the large redwood tree was adjacent to the gym, and they had already passed it. Where could they be going? Jenna tuned back into the conversation.
Carol always assigns us way too much homework.
Complained Corinne.
I know, right? I think I have a 5th sense. I can tell when people don't like me, and I don't think Miss Carol likes me at all. She's always, calling on me when I haven't even, raised my hand.
Claire added. There was an awkward pause. Yeah, the teachers were so much nicer in elementary school, Sabrina commented.
Yeah.
Jenna agreed. Corinne, Claire, and Sabrina all stopped and turned around. Even though she couldn't see them, Jenna could feel Corinne's eyes burning through her. Recently, Corinne and Claire had been distant, and Corinne didn't seem to like it when Jenna hung around at them. Jenna didn't understand why. They had been friends since the 4th grade. Her face turned bright red. Why were they staring at her like that? It was starting to feel like they absolutely hated her.
What are you doing? You can't just follow us around.
Corinne said accusingly. Jenna could just imagine Corinne standing there, her hands on her hips, flipping her long blonde hair and glaring at Jenna.
We're going to the library, so you can't come with us,
Claire asserted, taking Corinne's side of the argument, as always. Oh, come on, guys, she can come with us, Sabrina exclaimed. At least Sabrina had her back.
Don't be stupid, Sabrina. She can't even read. None of us want her around,
Corinne replied. She turned back to Jenna. She really didn't seem to care about how Jenna might feel. Jenna stuttered, but she couldn't make out any words before she turned and ran away. She kept running, nearly tripping over the roots of a tree. She ran until she reached the garden, where she sat down on a wooden bench. A million thoughts raced through Jenna's head. Before, Corinne was actually nice to Jenna, but maybe she was just being sympathetic then. The others hadn't been very friendly towards her recently either. Why couldn't she stand up for herself? Why did she run away? She wasn't sure. She had just panicked. Now she regretted the decision and felt kind of embarrassed. At least it was Friday. She wouldn't be able to stand facing any of them for a while. She sat there in silence for a long while, with her knees hugged to her chest. One moment, everything was still and silent. Then the sky groaned and it was pouring rain. Jenna listened to the howl of the wind and stomping feet as people ran around like maniacs, trying to find shelter. Jenna didn't move, not at first. She waited until the bell rang. She almost missed it because it was barely audible over the rain. That weekend, Jenna sat staring at the window, watching the rain pour down. She didn't feel like doing anything that day. Just when everything felt hopeless, Jenna had an idea. She got up from the couch and walked into the kitchen where her mom was preparing lunch and her dad was reading the newspaper. Her dad looked up briefly.
What's up, sweetie?
He asked, flipping to the sports section of the paper.
"What if I got a dog?"
Asked Jenna. Her parents looked at each other. Her mother opened her mouth but said nothing.
We don't need a dog. We already have a cat. And dogs are dangerous, and you of all people should understand that.
She sighed. Jenna carefully examined her mother's voice. Her words seemed angry, but her tone showed that she was just slightly annoyed and didn't want to think about it right then.
I didn't mean a dog for the family.
Jenna corrected.
I meant a dog for me, a guide dog.
Now that she said it out loud, it started to sound like a stupid idea.
Oh, I don't know, sweetie. It's too risky.
Her mother replied. Jenna turned back to where her father sat. Maybe he would have a different opinion.
You know, I don't think that's such a bad idea.
Her father said. Yes, now they were going somewhere.
George!
Her mother exclaimed. Oh no, she could tell they were going to start arguing about this.
What? It might be helpful for her.
Her dad replied. Her dad could be persuasive, but this was big, and she wasn't sure that her mother would ever agree.
Okay, go upstairs, sweetie. We'll think about it.
Her mother said. She wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing, so Jenna quickly walked upstairs to her room. Her chances of getting a dog seemed low, but dogs were dangerous, and she really should know that. Suddenly, an image appeared in Jenna's mind of the face. The last face she saw, the face of Scar, the mutt that sometimes used to hang around her neighborhood. He was named after Scar from The Lion King, and for good reason. He was one of the only things Jenna could remember seeing, and most of the color and shape had faded from her memory over the years. The image was blurry, but she could still see Scar's large, dark head hanging above her, and she could still smell his putrid breath in her face. There was a low snarl, and Scar bared his large yellow canine teeth. Jenna lifted her head and yelled for help, but Scar pushed her back, and she slammed into the concrete sidewalk. Everything went black. Sounds and smells flooded into Jenna's mind, and she was standing in her room. Jenna sighed and plopped down on the bed. She was a bit flustered, but she quickly brought herself back. She pulled her binder from her backpack and started on some homework. After about 45 minutes, her door swung open.
Your father has persuaded me. We're going to meet a dog next weekend.
Her mother replied. Jenna's jaw dropped.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Jenna exclaimed.
I'm glad you're excited. You should come downstairs. Lunch is ready.
Her mother said as she made her way to the stairs. Jenna did something she hadn't done in a while. She smiled. Over the course of the next week, Jenna became very anxious. At first, she was excited, and she couldn't wait till the weekend. However, she started to think of all the bad things that could happen. Since the accident, Jenna had never really interacted much with any dogs. What if she hated dogs? What if the dog hated her and she was attacked again? Maybe she didn't want a dog, but she pushed the thought out of her mind. She didn't want to put her mother through all that trouble for nothing. She couldn't back out now. Her mother wouldn't respond well to that, so she nervously waited. Jenna sat on a large couch in a stuffy room. She listened to the buzz of the electrical system until the door creaked open from the opposite end of the room. "Hello, you must be Jenna. My name is Annie, and I'll be helping you today," said a female voice. Jenna gave a small smile, even though she was terrified on the inside. "This is Bandit. He's a black lab." Annie was now standing next to her. "You can pet him if you like." Jenna hesitated, but she reached out a shaky hand and ran her fingers through his thick coat. His fur was as soft as a cloud. Bandit wagged his tail, accidentally hitting Jenna with it.
Good boy.
Jenna giggled. At that, Bandit lifted his front legs onto the couch and licked Jenna's face all over. All the nervous energy building up inside her seemed to have disappeared. Bandit continued to lick her face and wag his tail. Jenna laughed again. He was such a sweet dog, nothing like the one that had attacked her. "I think he likes you," Annie laughed. "Do you want to keep him?" A large smile grew on Jenna's face. She nodded. That was exactly what she wanted. She couldn't imagine another dog as happy and sweet as Bandit. Bandit was now sitting at Jenna's feet, but he was still wagging. In that moment, all Jenna wanted was to bring him home. All he wanted was to keep Jenna company, guide her, play with her, and eat her food. And that's exactly what they got. Jenna stood in front of Stone Lake Middle School, the wind blowing all around her. Bandit whimpered and stood closer to her. She was starting to regret her decision. What would people think? What would they say? She was sure that everyone would be staring at Bandit and her all day. Jenna took a deep breath and walked in. The door creaked open. There were tons of chatter that all blended together. However, when she stepped through the doorway, every single student stopped their conversations. Even though she couldn't see them, Jenna knew that everyone was looking at her. Her face turned red. By then, their eyes had dropped to the floor where Bandit stood. Some people seemed confused. Others just looked jealous. Just when Jenna thought she would die from embarrassment, the room burst out with excitement. Everyone rushed towards her to meet Bandit.
Is it a boy or a girl?
Clara asked.
It's a boy.
Jenna replied.
He's so cute.
Can I pet him?
What's his name?
Ben begged as he reached his hand toward the dog.
Wow, guys, give him space. The poor puppy's getting overwhelmed.
Jamie announced. Jenna backed away. She hated this much attention, and her cheeks were still glowing red. She had to get control of herself before she did something irrational and embarrassed herself even more. She took a deep breath. This was a good thing. Her classmates were accepting it. Sabrina came up next to Jenna and scratched Bandit behind the ears. That's when Jenna realized that Corinne and Claire were missing. She listened carefully and heard whispers from the far end of the room. Jenna began to overflow with hatred. Those girls had caused her so much pain. She took another deep breath. She should be friendly. She had to be. Jenna composed herself.
Hey, come meet my dog.
Jenna called. Claire turned towards Corinne for approval. Corinne said nothing, so she shrugged and walked towards Jenna. Jenna heard footsteps coming. No, she couldn't do this. She had been through too much with them. She tried to ignore them.
Hey, don't be an idiot.
Corinne called, grabbing Claire's arm.
What? I don't know about you, but Jenna's my friend. My fifth sense is telling me to do this.
Claire responded. Corinne rolled her eyes. Claire pulled her arm away and continued walking towards the crowd. Corinne stared in disbelief, but the frustration quickly faded from her eyes. She straightened herself out. She had been really mean to Jenna. Maybe Jenna had forgotten about it and wouldn't care. She didn't really seem to anyways. Besides, it couldn't do any harm to just say hi. She walked over and patted the dog on his head. He was kind of cute, wasn't he? Corinne smiled. She looked up to see Jenna.
His name?
She asked.
Bandit.
Jenna said coldly. She didn't mean to say it in such a harsh tone. It just came out that way.
Oh, cool. That's a great name.
Corinne replied. Frankly, she thought it was an awful name.
Don't be so sarcastic.
Jenna retorted. She knew she shouldn't have said that, but she just couldn't take it anymore.
What do you want from me? I'm trying to be a good friend.
Corinne defended. That wasn't exactly true, but what was she supposed to say?
A good friend? A good friend? All you've done is offer fake sympathy and abandon me when I needed you the most. We are anything but friends.
Jenna snarled.
I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. Are you happy now?
Corinne roared. Conversations began to quiet down around the room. All attention was directed toward the two of them. Jenna didn't respond to Corinne. Despite her lack of vision, Jenna could tell that they were making a scene. Meanwhile, Corinne was so invested in the argument that she didn't even notice.
I'm sorry. There's not much I can say. You think you're so special. Fine then. Have it your way. Take your dogs and your friends, but what do you want from me?
Silence. Corinne looked around. She had made a complete fool of herself. Time seemed to slow as she stood there. All the eyes were on her. Then she ran. She kept running, tripping over trees and rocks. She ran until she reached the garden, where she sat down on a wooden bench. What had she done?